Number 11. Jim has a checking account at Greater Northridge Bank. On September 4th, he wrote a check to the cable company for $100. He did not have enough money in his account to pay the bill. After the water company cashed his check, his account had a balance of negative $37. So step A says to write an equation to represent the situation and to use X to represent Albert's balance before he wrote the check to the cable company. And in step B, they want us to solve the equation that we write in step A. So let's review this. I'm sort of going to just draw a picture for myself to help me understand what the problem is asking me. Jim has a certain amount of money. And this money that he has, when he writes a check for $100 check, when he writes this $100 check and it leaves his account, it's going to leave him with negative $37. Okay, negative 37 means that he has less than zero. He is short. He should have enough money in his account to cover that, but he doesn't. So let's look at how we're going to solve that. I'm going to use a variable to represent this amount of money that Jim starts with. Let's say it's called X. X minus the check that he writes. And the reason why we're saying minus the check that he writes is because he's not receiving $100. We're not going to add $100 into his account. We're taking $100 out of his account to pay, the cable bill. Okay, so X minus 100 will leave him with negative $37 in his account. Well, if we're solving for X, we need to get rid of this 100. And we know if we add 100 to this side of the equation and add 100 to this side of the equation, then we'll create a zero pair here, and we'll be left with just X. So we have X equals negative 37 plus $100. I'm just going to do the math right here for you. $100 minus 37. Borrow from the 10, make it a 9. Put a little 1 here. 10 minus 7 is 3. And 9 minus 3 is 6. So I know that I need to subtract because I have a positive and I have a negative. And when the signs are different, we always subtract and keep the sign of the larger absolute value. And the larger absolute value will be positive. So this is a positive $63. So what does that mean? That means that Jim started with $63 in his account. He wrote a check for $100, and that left him with negative 37. That means he didn't have enough to pay the 100. And we know that's correct because if Jim had $100 in his account and he wrote a check for 100, he would have 0. But he started off with less money than what he wrote a check for, and that's why he has less money left in his account than 0. Now, step B says, or part of step B says, suppose that Jim's balance after writing the $100 check was negative $22. What would his balance have been before writing the check? Well, it's very similar to the situation. Let's just change it up a little bit. X minus 100, because we don't know how much he started with, but we know he wrote a $100 check. But this time he's not left with $37 or negative 37 in his account. He's left with negative 22. Same math. We're going to add $100 here and add $100 here. This will create a zero pair. So we are left with X on this side and negative 22 plus $100. Let's do the math on the side. 100 minus 22, make that a 9. 10 minus 2 is 8. 9 minus 2 is 7. So that means that Jim started off with $78. He had $78 in his account. That's the original X, the amount that we did not know how much he started with. But if he started with $78, that's not enough to write a check for $100, and so therefore he's going to be negative $22.